Collin, look this way. At the
Why do I have to look this way at the microphone where it's going to pick me up? Why would I have to do that?
Because that's how sound works. I hate
That's
to
not
break
how
it to
sound works. I can talk and I still hear you.
You are something else. Yes.
Utterly insufferable. And you smell like cheese. Your Wi-Fi is insufferable. It keeps, gleeking out on me.
Why buy a comic that might cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
Yes.
Assassination. So welcome back to the DimecomicBros podcast.
None of us know anyone important enough that it would count as an assassination. It would just be murder.
No, it'd be an assassination.
Who do you know that's important enough to be like that strong of either a public figure or like a government official?
My mom.
Your mom's not that important.
Yes, she is.
Not like that.
And she is. Everyone knows her.
It would count as a double homicide.
What the fuck? You know, my mom used to work with autistic kids. That's why she's really good with me.
Oh, it is contagious.
She actually did work with autistic kids. Like, that's what she did when she was in schooling.
Oh, dear Lord. That makes some sense.
It makes a lot of sense why her and my dad get along.
Yeah, that does. So it is just Collin and I, Spencer, this week.
Spencer. Hold on, I'm doing a Jacob right now. So I have to remove my foreskin from my comics.
I hate it when Jacob does that. It's either that or flipping through paper. He does so aggressively. So Jacob just has some shenanigans he has to finish up this week, so it's just the two of us. So this episode we are discussing Carnage, Black, White, and Blood. It is another 4-issue miniseries done in the style of the previous books we've discussed. It's all different artistic teams with 3 stories per comic. And they're just doing little stories based on the character with a color palette of black, white, gray, and blood. So the way that we did this last time would seem to have worked a little bit better than the one we did the first time. So what Jake and I did is we just went through like one at a time real quick. So it's like a little blip. So the first one, I'm not going to try to name all the creative teams on all of these. That's just a nightmare. But the first one seems to be taking place after the Absolute Carnage event, I think. And it's just a little trip through time. Carnage has been getting more esoteric lately, and it's very weird.
What does that mean?
Esoteric. So it's a like esoteric knowledge. It's like something that only a particular set of people know. So say, like Tumblr speak, because that's still a thing. Like, that's technically esoteric, because the vast majority of people don't understand it. Or, like, Reddit lingo. This most common in, like, social media websites or whatever. But, like, I don't know. The Bionicle community.
I understand.
If you just randomly...
I get what you're saying, but how is he esoteric?
Like, the concepts are getting more and more abstracted. It's not just, he's a serial killer. Like, there's a lot more...
Okay. So, in other words, you're saying that there's more depth to him other than being a mass murderer. With Venom.
I wouldn't necessarily call it depth. It's more like it's a certain writers really like the idea of like extrapolating the idea of Carnage the symbiote to like other time periods, which we'll see in this book. It's not just about it being Cletus Cassidy, which is interesting. I still don't really know how I feel about that.
You should have just led with that instead of saying esoteric. I doubt most of our audience even understands what that fucking word is.
We have no audience, so... Joke's on you.
Then why are we so serious about this podcast, you fucker? Checkmate.
When a tree falls.
Checkmate.
When a tree falls.
Checkmate. When a penis falls.
Why do you work so hard on your art if you never post it?
Practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut the fuck up.
So this first story, I was honestly a little lost by. There's a lot of voiceover, and it tries to like draw parallels between other characters in history. I like the art for the most part, but the story... It was kind of rough. It feels like this is an epilogue to something I haven't read yet.
Then fucking read it.
Of course you did. So the next story takes place in like the 18-somethings. It's a sheriff going around getting rid of bad guys, and then
it's basically Red Dead Redemption.
Everything that has a cowboy in it is just Red Dead now. Jesus.
Well, duh. TikTok lingo.
I hate you. But
I'm
basically,
esoteric in that way.
yeah, but that's not in the good way.
So that's a good way.
Anyways, the sheriff goes around taking care of, various outlaws as they did or do or whatever. And then basically he gets the symbiote at the end because he's basically become the thing he wants to destroy. I kind of like this one, honestly.
I was going to say, this is the one that I really liked, actually. This is like one of the ones I really liked.
Yeah.
I like the art style.
I
but also,
definitely like the art.
I love stories that are like, you've become the very thing that you hate.
It's so overdone, but I love it.
But it's one of those things, there's just those things in stories that can be overdone, but like everyone's going to love them because everyone can relate to it in some way because like you can for example, one way you can relate to it is that the one person that you always yelled at growing up is one of your parents, and that one parent that you yelled at all the time for like doing things you didn't like, you've become them when you get older.
I am my father.
I am my father.
Yeah, I know you are. This is the first one where I was really like, oh, I think the majority of these stories are going to be like non-canonical what-if things, and that kind of set the mood in a better direction for me, because I didn't really know what to expect with this one. I've read a decent amount of Carnage-related stuff, but it's always all over the place and not very cohesive. A lot of writers struggle with Carnage, and I haven't been reading the current run, so I'm a little out on like what's going on there. The next one...
You're going a little too fast. Because I want to talk about the art style of this.
It's so hot.
The art style of this is actually so much fun, because it's kind of like... It's like it's soft, in a sense of like the coloring, and then there's like the shading. It's not too harsh. And
it looks kind of like watercolor. Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. And also... It's not like the poses are entirely interesting. These kind of look like practice poses that you'd see in like a sketchbook. But I think what makes it cool or makes it interesting is that there's so many different panels on one page that you can follow. And the art style itself is just interesting. Because there are certain art styles that are just like, you want to see them, even if they're not even that dynamic in poses.
I think so. The thing with that I would counter, not exactly, is that this one has really dynamic lighting. Not necessarily in the like it looks like an in-frame light source, but it switches between backlit and frontlit constantly, and I really like the aesthetic that brings. It also switches between like light and dark spaces very frequently, and the panel layout is phenomenal. It's actually easy to follow.
Yeah.
Unlike most of the time when there's like a multiple panel overlap, unless it's like Alex Ross, it's kind of hard to follow at that sometimes, and this is very easy to read.
Yeah.
Just because when it's a good one, I wanted to drop the name. So that story is End of the Trail by Benjamin Percy with art by Sarah Pacelli.
I've heard that name. I can't remember where.
Pacelli's done a lot of stuff.
Sarah Pacelli, because I knew the art style looked familiar, I just could not remember.
Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know I've definitely seen her art somewhere. And Benjamin Percy is the writer on the current Ghost Rider run I've been enjoying, so that tracks. He understands the spoopy.
Let's just keep going.
The next story is basically what if Venom was... Not Venom, yeah. What if Carnage was Agent Venom, and it's a testing field? That's it. I didn't like this one at all. I'm sorry.
So, what I'm going to say is that I liked the art, and I liked the energy of the panels, and if I were to read this without any words, I would think it was, like, phenomenal because of the artwork. But since there's so many fucking boring-ass words that don't really connect, and that doesn't really mean anything to me.
It is very dialogue-heavy.
It sucks. I don't like this one, but I love the art and I love the panel.
I think the thing with the art is I don't think it really fits with this story.
No.
And that's why it's weird. Like, the animal henchman designs are kind of neat. I have no idea why they exist.
I love animal henchmen.
But it's like, this looks like something out of TMNT, which is fine.
Yeah, that's why I loved it.
For Carnage, it's kind of weird.
I think it kind of worked, honestly.
Yeah.
The reason why I think it worked is because, especially with the design of Carnage, he's just this giant red fucking whatever, and he's got like some black veins on him. He's like the...
I love that cover. It's so hot.
It's cool.
I like it.
I don't think it's that great, but it's cool. it just kind of looks like a lot of other covers to me. That's why.
Yeah, there's a certain.
It's not bad in any sense.
There's a certain aesthetic when it comes to like symbiote based covers. I
Yeah.
have like I like the big blob with the face in it thing.
Yeah.
So this next one is definitely a follow up issue to the Ultimate Carnage / King in Black crossover stuff.
Whoa! Oh, that's cool looking.
There's a Carnage shark.
That's fucking cool looking though.
Yes, Carnage was removed from Cletus Cassidy during the event and got yeeted into the river after being the servant of Null, blah, blah, blah. But Carnage attaches itself to a shark and eventually finds its way back on land. That's the thing about Carnage I do really like is the symbiote is, despite the fact that the relationship between the Cletus and the symbiote is so heavily symbiotic, like they're always like in one mind. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that Carnage can kind of just do his own thing when like Cletus isn't around.
He's like an actual parasite.
He's they're both that insane, and that means that they both kind of work on their own, which I think is cool because then you get the craziness of the Carnage thing, but you don't have to worry about like
happy couple.
Oh no, they are such a happy. They're the very willingly toxic couple. But like they are Megan Fox and MGK.
Oh my god.
But I just like it because that means you don't always have to worry about like where's Cletus Cassidy's body right now because Carnage dies all the time. So it's cool to have a little reprieve from having to like wonder where the hell the human is or like, oh, does this match his geographical location for the last one? It's like it's just the blob. Don't worry about it. And the art is very nice. I like the I would say hesitance to use red in anything other than Carnage himself. Mm-hmm. It also makes that double spread of the Carnage shark look really good.
Yeah, so, shit, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I was going to say something, like, kind of off topic, because you said Venom instead of Carnage. Just a side thing I want to say, just because I'm talking to you. I love, my favorite ever Spider-Man suit is always, like, the black Venom suit, because he doesn't have to use his fucking whip shooters. Like, especially in the Spectacular Spider-Man, where he took over his body while Peter was sleeping.
I love that.
And he still fought the Sinister Six. That shit was so cool.
Yeah. So that is that story is You Are Carnage. It's written by wait. Sorry, that's the wrong one. I'm stupid. That is Carnage Shark by Donnie Cates and Kyle Hotz. So I believe this is the last Venom-related story that Donnie Cates has done since the end of his really long symbiote epic over like 4 years. The next one is my favorite out of this whole book.
Really?
It is written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Marco Cicchetto, who is one of my favorite artists right now. My current obsession. Basically, Carnage is the monster in this kid's closet. Carnage has promised this child vengeance on his stepfather and like blah 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 blah. Like it's just the usual like domestic. Wow, look, I wonder if this kid's gonna become a Carnage. Yep, he's a serial killer now. I really like the vibe, the mood established with like the really cold white, and like the kind of almost warm black shades. It's really interesting. I also just like the fact that Carnage isn't like all red. Like there's still plenty of black shading. It's just a nice little story, and of course we have to have a Spider-Man cameo.
That's such a nice suit.
Yes,
I love when the webbing isn't like too curved and it's kind of like sharp.
Yes, I like the contrast of the sharp, like spiderweb like check marking on top of like the curves of his body because like he's always
curves of his
shut
body.
Up
You walked into
because he's always twisted into some weird pretzel.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
It's really cool.
It's kind of funny how they I noticed. Okay, I get why they didn't make Spider-Man like red and blue.
It would have
like
taken away from it.
It would take away. I mean, it would look like a badass panel.
Oh yeah,
but it would take away from the blood and also
there is so much blood.
Yeah, I like how red the barn is. It's just a red barn.
Yeah.
I love that. But also Spider-Man looks so cool in this color. Like the kind of like light gray with the like bluish gray.
Yeah.
That shit looks cool.
Yeah, no, I really like that story because it's a nice little nugget of what the Carnage symbiote can do without Cletus. It's just the symbiote chilling in a closet, stalking people, and like making secrets with ghosts in the dark, basically. I also really, really like Chip Zdarsky's voiceover. He's always been really good with doing
Do we know this boy's name?
Um,
And who's the
Brandon.
Right. Who's the stepfather? Do we not know? Because when we see Spider-Man,
He's a dead fucker. That's what he is.
Yeah, he says, "Damn it, Cletus."
Yeah, he's talking to Carnage because, of course, he is. Dan is the stepdad, and then the son is Brandon.
Yeah, but this is just Carnage. This isn't Cletus.
Yeah, but I don't think Spidey knows that.
Oh, okay, that makes
Because
sense.
I mean, yeah. I just like how it's a nice little nugget of what like a lot of the stuff with the Carnage is Carnage doesn't have to be like a mass murder machine. Whilst I think that's usually when Carnage is used best is when like treating him like a force of nature. Just he comes into town, he wrecks shop and leaves. That's usually the way I think is best to use the character, not to overplay him. But I like that it's like, yeah, he can be kind of sneaky and manipulative too. And if you let him just kind of fester there, like he'll also wreak havoc. He'll just wait longer.
So one of my big pet peeves about like superhero and villain costumes is that they'll make the costumes look so tight that it's actually their skin. This is what I love
Spider-Man
about
has cloth folds. It's so good.
I love that. I love the cloth folds, but also I love Carnage because like it looks like it's his flesh because it technically is.
Yeah.
But it looks even more like a humanoid flesh, especially with like the red and especially with what this artist did. I love the red and blacks and like the like not random, but like the highlights of the whites. Like little dots.
It almost
and
looks.
lines.
It makes it look a lot more like twisting like muscle tissue.
Yes, that's what
instead of just goop.
Yeah, twisting muscle tissue. I love that. That's probably my favorite Carnage design, honestly.
In this whole book, yes.
Yeah.
So the next story is a exploring expedition up in bumfuck nowhere. They get lost. People start dying. More people go missing. This one's pretty boring. I did like the art though. There's a Carnage Dougie, and I like Dougie. I like this kind of has a little bit of some thing energy going on. Not just because it's cold, but like the mysterious nature of them being like, oh, let's send out more people to go find out what's killing our men, and then it's like eventually it's just Carnage has somehow found his way to one of the people in the group. I don't really like the story in this one, but I did like the designs, and I do think the art is very nice. It's just not necessarily to my taste.
It's not to my taste until like the fifth to last panel on the last page of Carnage right there. That shit looks so good.
I really like the last panel with the like half Carnage face and shadow. It looks really good. I like the fact that this one does emphasize that like despite the fact that Cletus and Carnage together are inseparable, but also like Carnage doesn't care about Eddie. Not Eddie. Cletus, I'm dumb. Like even on his worst days, like Venom is insane and stupid, and even when he's being a murder robot, like he still cares about Eddie. That's kind of like the deal. Is they're actually like interlinked. But it's been a hot minute since you've said interlinked.
Yeah. I think I reminded you that with the poem.
Yes,
yeah.
yes you did.
Yeah.
But like Carnage will just use anybody. He would prefer to get back to Cletus because he's the most useful because they're both perfectly insane. But like, he'll just use anybody. It's cool. The next story, come on.
I'm not really into this one.
Really? So the next story is No Survivors by Dan Slott and Greg Smallwood. It's Smallwood, bro. It's so good. Basically, Carnage does a kill at a concert, and then only one person survives, and he got some Carnage blood on him, and he's driven mad because he thinks that Carnage is in the blood. So he starts hearing him and like seeing his face everywhere. And then eventually, like he goes to a therapist, and like he goes to the hospital, and then he's like, if I can't blast it out of my head with noise, I can burn myself. So like Carnage gets a from the grave death. Like this guy, like he doesn't even know that this guy exists. It's just the insanity of being around such a relentless, like insane monster just kind of drove this guy crazy into killing himself. And Carnage is like, Lamau, that's nice. I don't know. I liked it. I haven't read
Spider-Man design.
Yes, I haven't read a good Dan Slott book in a while, to be honest. He's one of those writers he's so prolific. I always go back and forth. He can write stuff very well. It's just not all the time. And I really like Greg Smallwood. This is what I like. I get all that.
Hold on. Yeah, that is kind of funny. He in the last page, a cop comes up to Cletus in Ravencroft. He's like, "All right, how'd you do it? How'd you drag this guy off to hell while you're here?" He's like, "The truth is, I got no idea who you're talking about. And you know what? That makes it even better." And he just starts laughing. It's like, wow, Joker moment.
A little bit.
Yeah.
This next story is my second favorite one.
Fuck you.
What, is it yours?
No.
Oh, do you not like it?
I don't like pirates!
You're so gay. Yeah, this one is what if Cletus Cassidy and Eddie Brock were pirate captains, and they have symbiotes, but not all the time, and they have boats, and they fight.
And they fuck.
I really like this one.
You're so fucking weird.
I like pirates, and I
hate pirates.
I love the aesthetic that they got here. Like, especially in the end fight where they're both putting on like the symbiotes, but they're not they're still using them as tools is really cool. It emphasizes the relationship between the two humans rather than the two symbiotes. And the art here is really good. Like, I wish I could draw like this.
Yeah, it's good.
He's good. He's real good.
It's not my favorite, but it's good.
This one's a funny one. Carnage goes to Comic-Con, and there's a cult of people for Carnage, because of course there's always a cult for every serial killer. And this has been brought up pretty recently, actually, in generic comic discourse of like, there are in-universe Comic-Cons in the comics and in the movies and stuff, and people go dressed up as like serial killers.
I love that he's got Vans on.
Yes, like, so at first we don't know that it's Carnage until he gets inducted into this cult, and then they're like, "We're gonna kill you as a sacrifice to our Lord and Savior Carnage," and he's like, "Bro, it's me," because he's walking around with the symbiote basically looking like a costume.
He does, because
like
his mouth's not moving.
It looks like a really good cosplay, and then he like transforms. I really like that comedic bit, because I was sitting here thinking, I was like, what's the twist gonna be here, you know?
I do like that.
And then and then he's like, "Oh, you guys couldn't tell the difference between a cosplay and the real thing. Oh, you fucking nerds." And then he just kind of goes on a rampage. I really like this Carnage design. I don't know why. I like the really veiny look. And the heavy use of shadows is really cool. And then he goes back to just going about Comic-Con. Like, it's clearly comedic, but like it's a nice little thing. I don't even know how to describe this story. It's so weird.
Nice costumes, by the way. He lets them go. Yeah, you can see like he makes it look like there's threads behind his
and like
mask.
he pulls up the ankle so he has to wear shoes, and he like pulls the gloves off basically, so he has to his hands are out. Yeah. It's so funny. It's like, it makes me wonder, is he there for some type of a plot, or is he just there to chill? Because
he's there to he said that's why he loves Comic-Con, because stupid shit like this.
It's so fucking weird. The next story is it was written by Stegman. This one is Carnage Beyond. It's written by Ryan Stegman and art by Joe Bennett. This is another kind of wrap up to the previous large Carnage and Venom run. Ryan Stegman was the primary artist for Donny Cates' run. And this definitely has to do with the Al Ewing Venom run right now, so I don't know much about it. So I was having some difficulty following the story, but the art was solid. I like Agent Venom Mummy.
I'm not really into the art.
It's not my favorite, but it's all right.
I wouldn't want to read like a whole story out of it.
The next story is what if Carnage but taxi driver? That's basically what I read it as. He just goes insane walking around and just starts killing people wearing red because he's insane. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
It flew by. And then the last story, honestly, this I thought was cool, but I think it was the wrong one to end the book on. Jake and I talked about this with the last book, is how do you order your stories in terms of like because when you're an editor, like
Yep.
you know which ones are going to be more interesting to some people, which ones you're like, all right, we kind of have to work with it, you know, like so how do you do it? How do you arrange the stories per issue and the issues inside the
How
collected
should
edition?
they, or how do you?
Both. It's because you can make an argument for a lot of different ways. You want it to be like you get a good one, then a bad one, a good one, a bad. Or like, do you want it to be a constant downward slope or a constant upward slope? Like, how do you arrange that? Like, there's no real good answer to it. But I do think the ending on this one was kind of a dud.
I think it should be up, down, up, down, up, down.
I
up,
agree
down,
with you.
Up.
Obviously, it's a little subjective because obviously people will like stories differently. But like, this one was a cool concept of like it's in the future and people are exploring and all the superheroes are dead, and then they find a vial of Carnage, and then Carnage is like, "Ha, you guys are dead," and then he kills them, and then he goes and finds a sanctuary. The last page is a really cool note to end the book on, but I just feel like the story was a little bit too up there. Like, I feel like if to end the story for this book, like as a collected edition, it would have felt better to have ended on one of the more easily digestible stories, maybe. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. I think No Survivor would have been a good one to end on.
Yeah, for sure.
So, to wrap it up with this, my three that are my favorite, because I realized I wasn't talking about this. I was talking about a different one. It took me a second.
It was like,
it took me a second.
Yeah, you like Greg Smallwood.
No, I do. It took me a second. I was confused. My favorites, not in a particular order, would definitely be No Survivor, End of the Trail, and the one with the little boy. What's his name?
This is one by Chip Zdarsky and Chichetto.
Carnage. Okay, My Red Hands.
Yeah, so
Yep.
my top three would probably, again, in no particular order, is probably End of the Trail, My Red Hands, and Sea of Blood. The Convention comes in fourth, but it feels weird kind of putting that one in the top three because like it's a comedic story, but like I like.
But No Survivors.
No, okay, No Survivors is my 4.
So my 4 is the one with the animal henchman.
Really?
Because of the art. Only.
That's interesting.
Only. Because I will not read it ever again, but I will look through it actually.
Yeah. So
that's the thing.
So this book was, when I read it, it was a similar experience as to reading the Deadpool collected edition. There were about an equal amount of stories I liked and didn't like. I think none of the art here dipped as low into the I don't like area as the Deadpool one did, but also some of the stories here were even harder to follow. At least all the Deadpool stories I could follow, even if some of them I really didn't like. Versus this one, there are 4 or so of them that are like connected to ongoing or previous events that I'm not really familiar with. So it feels kind of weird, but I feel like the art across the board is of a higher caliber. So it felt closer to reading the Deadpool one than the Wolverine one, because the Wolverine one was quite enjoyable. I know you're dumb and gay and you didn't like it.
You're dumb and gay. You like fucking pirates.
I like pirates.
Dumb and gay.
So we have a bit of a break between reading the last 2 collected editions, just because the publishing, the release dates have been a little wonky, and I didn't time everything quite perfectly. So in a little bit, we'll have the Elektra one, and then the Moon Knight one is a bit after that. They're just bigger gaps between us talking about them to make sure we actually have time to read them. So moving on.
Those are some boobs.
Moving on to our current ongoing discussion series thing. We have A Vicious Circle, book 1 of 3. It's from Boom Studios. It's written by Mattson Tomlin and with art by Lee Bermejo. Basically, time travel.
Yeah, basically 2 time-traveling future men are fighting each other because each other was created.
Yes.
Type of thing. We don't know who's a good guy, but we're assuming that the good guy is a normal guy that we see in the beginning.
Yes.
And by the end, the other bad guy that we think is a bad guy is like, who do you think is the real hero here?
Yeah.
Which is like, whoa, let's question it. But also it makes you think, only villains say that shit.
Okay, that's just true. So, Yeah, so we follow Sean, or at least that's the name he's going under. He's living an idyllic life
And he's
in the
ripped
burbs.
as shit.
Yes. He's just kind of chilling in his own life. He seems to have escaped the struggle, at least temporarily. But the bad guy's like, I will always find you. We have no context as to why these two have issues with each other exactly. And we don't have a lot of backstory here. We go in media res.
So weird. He like fed him just a raw egg, and that's it.
Eggy.
That's so gross.
So, okay. So, across the board, I love the art here. I'm a big Lieber Mayhew fan because, of course, I am. He's had some duds here and there in his career, of course, but the thing that I really like is the art style switch in this book. I don't know if he was the one who did the coloring, but between the settings, they have a slightly different art style.
Yeah, when they go to the future.
Yeah,
that one I like a lot.
I like it's I didn't talk about it on air yet, but like Fantastic Four Full Circle was Alex Ross trying out a new style, so it's not him doing paintings all the time. Mm-hmm. It's still very clearly Alex Ross. It kind of feels like that, whereas Lieber Mayhew can't do every book with this disgustingly detailed like pencil drawings he does. Like he has done books like that, but I can imagine I don't know, time. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, I
of
mean,
effort.
Look at that shit.
It takes insane amounts of effort.
That's insane.
I mean, I would be willing to bet so much money he definitely doesn't do there's not every single inch of it's hand done, but like his art has always been so high effort in a similar way to Alex Ross, whereas it aims for a lot of like really textured realism, but also sometimes it can lose it can feel kind of stiff. It's not very dynamic from like panel to panel, which I think is alleviated because of the panel layout of this book is very dynamic once we get into the action sequences.
Right.
Instead of like the first section when it's just story basically, it's very standard comic issue stuff. But as it starts going on and like the world gets turned topsy-turvy, the panel layout starts getting a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, so this story is basically like what we said, two future men fighting and blah, blah, blah. But every time, so far that we know, every time the future man that was captured by Sean kills someone, they travel to a different random time period.
Yeah.
And in the first time that we see him kill someone, actually that doesn't make sense because he killed his... No, he didn't kill them. He just harmed his family. That's right.
They're in the hospital.
So yeah, no, correction. He does, anytime he kills someone, they get sent to a different timeline.
Yes. I like the premise for sure. I think over the next two issues, I definitely think that there's going to need to be some more...
I like
Sean,
the boobs.
Of course you do.
They're really good.
Sean as a character is a bit flat, which is expected for like a high concept book. They usually are. But I think, so this is very Terminator-y, of course. The thing with Terminator that makes it last is because the characters are so good. They're simple, but like they fit well into their archetypes, but they're also fairly iconic. Like, I think there's going to need to be some heavy lifting for the next couple of issues. I'm sure like the writer already knows that. It's just... It's a necessary part of starting your book is you have to understand the plot devices before the characters, which is kind of iffy on. I really like the two different designs for the bad future man. His weird, gnarly, fucking dog mask looking thing.
To a different dog mask looking thing.
Yeah, but I really like the future design. It kind of looks like Crisis.
Oh no! No. Their future looking like outfits are way cooler.
So
like
cool.
Where the fuck did those go? I want to know that. I'm pissed off. The reason why I don't like this right now, I want to like it, but the reason why I don't like it is because the issue feels so short.
It does.
For only a 3-issue story.
It feels like
how the fuck are you gonna like make this make sense and interesting?
It feels like this is like the first of it 4. 4 would be more believable. 6 might be kind of pushing it, but like
I would say 4 or 5.
Yeah, like it definitely does feel like 3 issues might not be enough for this.
No. Because we already don't really know what's going on. We're just seeing a lot of like action. And surprisingly enough, that kind of annoys me.
It's weird because like I find the concepts interesting. I think the aesthetics are cool, like all of it. And Mattson Tomlin, I've read like it's basically just Batman the Imposter, which I wasn't super hot on. I like how he writes dialogue.
He wrote Batman the Imposter?
Yes.
I actually like that one.
Yeah, like I didn't mind it. It just there was parts of it that were very underwhelming. I had the same issue with I've had a lot of similar issues with most of the Batman Black Label ones. It's a good thing all the non-Batman Black Label ones have been much better.
Yeah, no, that's actually I would rather the mainstream Batman comics be better than the Black Label. As much as I love the Black Label.
Well, that's the idea. Is it's like, what if we just it's random concept?
Yeah, and
bullshit.
that's fine. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's just with this, the dialogue is good, but it doesn't have a lot of the information we need. Despite having a lot of random info dumps, this doesn't really go over motivations. That's kind of like the key one. And like, I'm not opposed to starting out a story without clear motivations. I have no issues with that. It's just, for some reason, this one's not super hooking me. In that sense, I'm a lot more interested in the sci-fi bit, the concepts and like the technology than I am the story.
I think it needs to stop info dumping and start showing some more panels, like it did with the future looking panels that it showed us.
Yes, in the future, there's a lot less dialogue, and I think it's a lot more effective.
It needs to be more show, don't tell.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing. Ever since I heard that, I actually paid attention to like what that meant. I'm like, oh, it makes so much more sense now.
For sure.
Show, don't tell is always the way to go.
Yes. And I do like the little montage at the end where they go through different time periods just killing each other in a few different art styles, which are all very good.
I don't mind it. I just don't like that they end up at like dinosaur.
Really? Mm-hmm. I'm wondering why, more than anything else, I'm wondering why that's where probably at least half of issue 2 is going to take place.
The only time I want to see Sci-Fi Man kill dinosaurs is with Adam Driver right now.
Oh my god.
I actually really want to see that.
I'm really looking forward to that.
We gotta go. I will actually go see that in the theater with you.
Gasp. So, I liked it, but it definitely...
I want more.
I definitely want more. I'm looking forward to reading the next one. It's just a matter of, like, I don't... From my uneducated and inexperienced point of view, it feels like there's not enough room for all the stuff for this story to be fleshed out enough. I'm not discouraged enough to not keep following it, especially since it's only 3 issues. Mm-hmm. I just hope it's not just like a money grab. You know what I mean? I'm feeling more like I'm hoping it's not. I always hesitate to say that because like even the biggest blockbuster comics don't make that much money, but like it is definitely a somewhat, despite it being from Boom, which is a publishing company we don't read a whole lot of stuff from.
Yeah,
like they always have a lot of good stuff. It's just something we don't the three of us tend to not read very frequently. It was a pretty high profile like team up. That's kind of why I found out about it. It was like, oh, Liber Mejo's doing a miniseries with the guy who did this, and it's like, oh. Interesting. Definitely looking forward to the next one. It makes for a good read for the like $5.
Yeah.
It was a decent value. It is just like...
I actually read it this morning.
Of course you did. Because I reminded you yesterday that you had to read shit.
I was fucked up this week. This whole month, but like this week especially.
That's why I gave you the book like 2 weeks ago.
I know, I'm glad I've been fucked up.
So, moving on to the crazy section. Collin.
Oh, he was fucked up.
He was fucked up.
I was going to have a really good topic. I was going to talk about Glass Onion, but I didn't have the time to watch it. I literally sat down and then something happened. I'm like, come on. And I even keep seeing on my TikTok, so I have to like, I literally got rid of it. Cause I'm like, no. Because it was starting to do like the puzzle scene of like, and I'm like, no. Because I was like, wait, what is this? And it said Glass Onion. And I was like, nope, gone. Because that shit looks so good.
Also, just on that note, because Glass Onion ended up being in my top 3 of the year, I really hate the fact that the moment I dropped my like top 5 favorite comics, I read 2 more that would have made it into my top 5.
That sucks.
2 phenomenal Black Label books came out back to back, and I'm so pissed I couldn't talk about them.
Yeah.
So, what have you been up to? You read anything? You watched anything?
I'm really trying to think. I'm thinking hard. I'm trying to think about what I've watched recently.
Have you finished Chainsaw Man yet?
Is that the last episode for this part?
10? Yeah. Pretty sure.
It's 12.
Is it 12?
Yeah, dude.
bro, I just watch it when it comes out. I don't fucking.
I watch it when it comes out too.
I don't count.
Because it doesn't feel like one they would. Actually, it kind of does.
Anime does that all the time. They're like,
no,
we're gonna end on
no. Listen, stop. You didn't even let me finish what I was gonna fucking say.
Eat my butt.
I said it doesn't feel like an episode that they would end on, but then I thought about it. They didn't even really have an end credit, like, not end credit, but they didn't even have, like, credit scene that they normally have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like the outro. They didn't have, like, an outro, and I'm like, oh, right. No, it makes sense. There's obviously going to be more. It's only part 1 of probably... I could see this becoming 2 seasons. Because where they're at right now, I think is only book 4 or... Yeah, it's only book 4. And, like, maybe some of 5.
It's 12 episodes for the first season.
Yeah.
So they didn't end on, like, a... They just kind of ended.
Oh, it's part 1 of season 1.
Yeah.
That's what they do. But, like...
I hate that.
Me too.
Personally. But I hate that regular, like, normal, serialized, like, American superhero TV does that now. Where it's like, especially, this was really big in the Arrowverse, but like, even with the HBO Max shows, they're like, yeah, it's part 1 of season 4. It's like, fuck you, just air all of it. Why is it like, that was the thing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that really pissed me off. It was a necessary thing to change up the formula that they had going by like splitting the season into 2 halves and like 2 very different stories. Yeah. But like, I hate it. I hate it. So, I hate that.
This, because they're only, in Chainsaw Man, they're only in book 4 and maybe like the first couple pages of 5 out of 11 books.
Have you read all 11 books?
Yeah.
You never know. You only talked about the first like 4, so.
Because
after a while, we're just sitting there drooling, like, what is he talking about?
Yeah,
I don't follow.
I stopped talking about it because you guys weren't really following, so I was gonna wait for the anime because I figured that you might actually enjoy it.
No, dude, I fucking love the anime. It's
so good.
It's so good,
dude. The manga,
dude. There's like no sussy shit. It makes me so happy. Minimal sussy shit. For
we're about to get to book 5, so just wait.
I'm sure.
We're about to get to book 5.
For a very mainstream, like high effort like anime of a manga.
Just kind of like it's like normal like stuff you would see on
on
our like shows or TV or whatever. That's why another reason why I really liked Chainsaw Man because it didn't have like any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And the reason, so I guess I'll talk about Chainsaw Man because we're already here. So Chainsaw Man just finished up its first part for its first season of 12 episodes, and I, Collin, have read the manga, and you know what's funny, and I'll say this again because I say this quite often. Last year, I just kept seeing that it was popular, and people were talking. I'm like, what is this? And I was just not doing it. And I finally got into it because I was like, I saw a panel that I really liked, is because the art style is fantastic. It's like, it's not just normal manga or normal anime. It's like it has those elements, but it's a lot sharper and more jagged.
Yes.
And
so that's why I can bear like looking at it.
Yeah. And so the manga, I read the entirety of the manga, and once I finished the last book, Mappa was doing Attack on Titan at the time, part 1 of season 4, and I just finished Chainsaw Man, and Mappa, the studio, announced with a trailer, oh hey, we're doing a Chainsaw Man anime, here's some stuff, and I'm like drooling, I'm like, I literally just finished the anime. I just finished the manga. How the fuck is this happening? Because every time I finish a manga, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll check it out. They have an anime now. Or they're announcing an anime. I'm like, wow.
Wowee!
It's just weird. And then I finally got it. And as I keep following and watching, this show is hitting everything of the manga. But here's something that's bothering me about the fan base. And I usually don't agree with the fan base. And this is not where I agree with them at all. A lot of manga readers are following the new anime, and they're saying, of course, like they always do, it's nothing like the manga. It's beat by beat, perfect, because that's what fucking Mappa does. And Mappa hits not just beat by beat for the sake of beat by beat, they hit beat by beat where it's important too. Like they'll skip some dialogue, like with Attack on Titan, they do that sometimes because it's not needed. It's kind of exposition dumps that aren't needed, and they skip them, which is exactly what you need for like a excuse me, like a remake technically. And they're saying that it's not as hopeful as it was in the comics. I'm like, are you kidding me? It was barely any type of fucking hopeful anything. Like, our main characters, one of them's like an actual fiend who just wants to rule the world and has no idea what it wants to do. One is a guy who lost his heart and is a chainsaw devil and just wants to have sexy time and have a good life because he had to sell his balls and his eye and tons of shit just to get by because some mob boss decided, hey, your dad's dead and he has a debt to me, so now you're paying it. And her other character, who's the literal like manga protagonist of every manga ever, he's just out for revenge. He has 2 years left to live to find the gun devil because they killed his whole family. This is not a hopeful story, and that's kind of the point, because it's set in a not so hopeful world, which is like us. But these characters, even though they have tragic backstories or whatever, they can still find the small moments in their life where they can enjoy the company of the people that they're around or they choose to be around, and they are enjoying life for a couple minutes, which a lot of times that happens to most of us.
I think the people who complain about that type of accuracy are the same ones who do it with comics, and they're the ones who don't read them, and they don't.
Yeah.
Because if you read the source material, and you're not like a weirdo, most people understand how adaptations work at least a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, book snobs tend to be kind of weird about adaptations, and sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're just completely whack. But like, just. It's the same people that complain about comic accuracy are the ones who like watch a comic historian, not sorry, just because they don't feel like paying for a book. Mm-hmm. Like,
oh shit, I remember that.
Like, it's that
I watched comic historian when I was a kid, but that's because I didn't have a fucking job.
Yeah, like it's vaguely useful for like some rare occasions if it's something I need to get like I haven't gotten a hold of. Like I need to get brushed up on it, but like by and by, that dude's YouTube channel is like entirely unethical. I don't care. There's a reason that all of ComicTube hates him. Like he's just kind of a scumbag. Like that's just shitty. But like
really,
yes.
Let
me just read out a comic and show you all the panels. Like, yeah, that's not shitty at all. It's dumb.
That's shitty.
That's basically just plagiarism and like giving away books for free. It's there's a fine line to walk between making resources available and like just willingly like, because that's the thing is people don't go to Comic Story and check out something and then go buy the book and get into the medium. They just watch more Comic Story on YouTube videos.
Okay,
it does not encourage you to get into comics. Because
I am, for one, I know a guy who really likes getting free stuff.
Oh no, that's not the issue itself.
But here's the thing, like you said, he doesn't give resources. It's not like, hey, follow this link, you'll get to read the comic. It's hey, listen to me talk about it so I can get all the likes and subscribers and you can give me money. I understand.
Yeah, unethical. It's not good. It's the same type of attitude. It's always like it's like this characters, they're not adapting accurately. It's like the people who do that are the ones who look at a panel comparison and they're like, wow, they did the panel. It's the same character. Like, you know, like they just fill up your like Instagram like page with just compare like comic to screen comparisons. And it's like, do you know how adaptations work?
I also used to be a 12-year-old.
I mean, me too.
12-year-old to 15-year-old where I cared about comic book accuracy. And then I realized adaptations and people's ways of being like, hey, this is my character. Because I did the same, when you're a kid, you do the same thing. Like if you're like, or if you're like us.
You get possessive.
You were like, no, I was about to go to, you have your own like, this is how I would draw Batman. Or this is how I think if I was Batman, this is what I would do. Because that's what you do when you're a story or you're like a writer.
Yeah.
You're like, this is what I would do if I'm Batman. Like Matt Reeves would become a total emo boy if he was Batman and listen to because he listens to Nirvana.
Right, but like not the fact that people do things differently doesn't take away from the original still existing.
No, because they still fucking exist.
It's always one of those things where it's like if you want like a perfect adaptation, just go read the book. Because it, like no matter what it is, like the I don't know, like a lot of the DC animated movies, a lot of those are very good adaptations of the books, but most of
before the Flashpoint and Justice League War, you're talking about.
No, they still have some now. The ones that are most of them are out of continuity. They're just one-off things. Red Hood, Dark Knight Returns.
That's before the Flashpoint.
I'm not. It's because the ongoing things are entirely disconnected from the fact that they just sometimes do random bullshit. The whole time, the 10 years while there was
that came before those.
I know how years work, Collin.
What the fuck are we're really not fucking connected on
Collin,
what's going on?
They continued making those types of adaptations that were not in continuity with the ongoing story. Just a lot less of them. And they've been doing more of them now.
Give me examples, because I don't believe you.
Oh my god.
Because I swear that they only made like their DC animated,
no.
cartoon animated universe movies.
Nope. Most of them were, but they're not no. Especially not now. They've really busted up the whole studio.
Well, I know not now. I'm talking about in the time period.
Hold on. Let me get the list.
I want to kill you.
So, let's see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's 16.
You're not even telling me what movies they are.
Hold your fucking horses. There's
You know what? I'm gonna shit if I try to fart.
There's 16 of them before the DC AMU started. And then there's, let's see, Assault on Arkham, Justice League Gods and Monsters, The Killing Joke, Gotham by Gaslight,
The Killing Joke,
Red Sun. No, those were all during the DC AMU period.
They were. Okay, that's why I don't remember them, because I don't really like any of those.
Okay, my point is...
That's why it makes sense.
My point is...
What's your point? What's your point, Dick Man?
Even the ones that they did, which were extremely close adaptations, like the Dark Knight Returns one is borderline better than the book. Those ones that are very, very close, but they're also very tightened up, that's good, but that still kind of points people to go buy the books, because it's not the complete package necessarily. It's a really good companion piece. It's a good entry point when you're younger before you get used to reading comics or whatever.
I want to read it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That movie is still one of my the two-parter movie is still one of my favorite DC cartoon movies ever.
Yeah, and then the Long Halloween 2-part adaptation.
That was actually really good.
While it is in continuity with the current ongoing universe, it also is basically entirely standalone, and it's phenomenal. That I liked more than Dark Knight Returns. That
Jensen Ackles.
Dude, that was so good.
Yeah, I love that. He eventually became Batman. He played Red Hood, voiced Red Hood, and everyone's like, "Oh, we want him as a young Red Hood," and then he aged out of the role.
Now he's 45.
And then now he aged out of the role, and now he's Batman.
Yeah,
that's so fucking awesome.
Just there are people when they talk about adaptations, they get so weird about it, and it's I get being moderately protective of something, but also I'm sorry, but do go outside.
I don't know, just try to enjoy things.
There's a difference between taking things seriously and taking the art of it seriously and you're taking it too seriously. It's like when you get your sort of, it's what do you mean Batman's gonna fight dinosaurs? It's shut the fuck up. Batman's gonna fight dinosaurs now. You're taking the medium itself kind of too seriously.
So with that point,
I see that a lot with manga to anime fans. It's just go read the books then.
So, if I see, if there's a comic or if there's a movie or there's something where Batman's fighting dinosaurs, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait until he's done fighting dinosaurs, and in the meantime, I'm gonna watch or read something else of Batman. Because I'm just not interested in that. And I'll just wait until he's doing something I'm interested in.
What a concept. It's almost like you don't have to look at everything.
Yeah.
Try telling me that about other things, but when it comes to some shared universes, I do have an issue with that. But that's because I have brainworms.
Like Zack Snyder universe?
No, I mean the fact that I refuse to not watch anything MCU related, even though I hate about half of it now. Because
you refuse to not?
Despite the fact that I don't like a lot of current MCU properties, and then there's a bunch of them that I'm not looking forward to, because of how my completionist brain works, and I really like knowing all the world building stuff, even if it's not on initial release, I will watch them fairly soon after they come out. And and that's the thing is I haven't, despite the fact that I complain about them the most, I still haven't hit the breaking point where I'm I literally can't not watch it, which isn't good. It's a brainworm I have.
Well, see, here's my thing. I'm kind of like that too, but that became a cutoff at Endgame because my brain was I've watched these ever since I was a kid, and it came to one of the main endpoints, endgames, if you will, And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with just stopping there. And everything else I watch is like, yeah, I'll pick and choose. Like, you know what's funny? As much as, like, I'll hate on something at first, which I hate that I do this, but I do it because I'm, like, an emotional person. I hate on Moon Knight a little bit. And I go back and I'm like, it's not that bad.
It's
not
great, but like...
But no, it's not that bad. I will actually rewatch it. And also the same how I feel about Hawkeye, because I really like Hawkeye. Like him, like his scenes do it for me.
There's just
do it for me.
Oh my gosh,
Like She-Hulk would say.
It's
he's really doing it for me, and I love I love seeing the trauma, like just like the trauma attacks, the panic attacks, or like just seeing him like take care of himself. And oh my word, my favorite couple ever, him and his wife.
Yeah,
because he doesn't have to hide. And, like, it's maybe something that she doesn't really like, but she's supporting him and giving him love. Whoa, what a fucking concept. That's so cool.
You need to seek psychological help.
I just love it. I need to show Abby that show.
Oh, boy. So, I read Robin Volume 2, I Am Robin. So, it's the current ongoing by... Wow. It's the current ongoing by Joshua Williamson with pencils by Gleb Melnikov and Max Dunbar. This is issues 7 through 12 and the first annual. They're still on the Lazarus Island doing the tournament, but it's the end of the tournament.
How long have they been doing the tournament?
Like 5 issues. It's not a lot of it's actually
fighting. 5 months?
Something like that. I don't remember if it was a monthly or a bi-weekly, but like it's mostly been character stuff. There hasn't actually been as much fighting as you'd think. So this is the conclusion of the island part of the story. They have multiple boss battles. I won't spoil it because it's actually some pretty interesting stuff. But like we get Damian, Talia, Raish, both of Raish's parents. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of family drama relating to all of the various subsections of the League of Shadows / League of Assassins, like all that stuff. Because every time they add another group and it gets more confusing. But like, yeah, it's some weird stuff. Basically, they make like a big big punchy man. Basically, it's very
a big punchy man.
There's a lot of boss battles in this book.
Dude, you know what they need to do? These writers need to play some Dark Souls games, and they'll come up with some really good ideas for boss battles.
I had a recommendation based off of that sentence, but I can't remember what it was. There was something I had read that was like, this is very Dark Souls-y. There's some really cool lore twists between the different factions that Raish has led over the millenniums, as well as the fact that Raish is like kind of a good guy now. Sort of.
Yeah, right. How long is that going to last?
For like at least a few minutes.
At least a few minutes.
Dude, he's like chilling. He's being supportive. He's a farmer, kind of. Like he's farming, a man of your talents. It's very weird, but I like it. There's actually some really solid progression for Damian. He's been trying to like, yeah, I'm getting out of my father's shadow. Blah, 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 blah.
I'm really digging the suit.
I love the suit. I don't like the green mask with the orangey red though. I like the idea of having a smaller amount.
Wait, does he have a new suit? Yeah. I'm talking about the black and red. Did he ditch that?
Hold on.
I'm talking about like the gray, black.
Hold on.
I'm talking about the gray, black.
You know you make it harder for me to find shit when you keep talking.
I'm talking about the gray and black.
This one. I like the suit. That's been his suit for like 2 years now.
Yeah. Oh, it is green.
I don't like the green mask. I like the head. I like the head shot with the mask being green, but the head doesn't fit the body totally.
So I love the red, love the suit, though. The black, the gray. And even the yellow I'm fine with.
I've always loved the yellow on the underside of the cape.
Well, no, me too, but like I feel more like that should be with like a red and green, like a normal Robin suit. Like it would have been cool if he had like a red under it, but I like the yellow because it pops. Like how I love the purple under Batman's cape because it pops, and anyone who thinks that they don't like it is gay. And also, heads up, purple gloves are the best. Fuck you.
Okay, so anyways... Damian's been running away and trying to sort out some of his family issues and how he feels about all of his different family members and how all of them conflict with each other. He basically willingly opts in to fight to the death with his mother, who's like, actually, no, I'm not gonna kill you. Like Talia has like a good mom moment for once.
No, my boy!
Damien goes to Alfred's grave, which was really rough. That's the end of this book. Is the last issue or so is him.
I forget Alfred's dead. Oh!
Yeah, so it's basically his grandfather. It's one of the closest relationships he's had in his life was Alfred, and then Dick, and then Bruce.
Why is Alfred such a great parental figure?
Because of course
like he is like DC's like one of their best parental figures like ever.
Yeah.
Like Batman's basically a father, but he's also kind of like the distant older brother, or like the dickhead older brother. And so then Dad comes in to help the little sons because they're like, oh, we got a lot of emotions, Dad. We need help. It's okay. Let me slap your brother around.
So he goes to his grave. He has like a big hallucination fight. It's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of setup in here for the upcoming Lazarus Planet event where like basically all of Earth is a Lazarus pit. I guess that's a whole thing. It feels like I know because I can see which writers are working on which projects.
I can see it in the future.
Like, but it doesn't like overtake this story. It's still a nice, just Damien progressing through life. He gets some he has friends now. He has real friends. They all do a big team up. It's really cool.
Isn't Superman his friend?
That's been a whole thing up and down because
he's older.
Yeah, because he went away and got old, and then Damien's like, "Bro, what the fuck? You're weird now." But they're still
weird
friends.
now.
They're still. It's a big age gap, dude.
Well, yeah.
Connor, like,
wait, how old is Damien now?
Damien's 17-ish.
Oh, that's older than I thought.
16, 17. Yeah, like he's a proper he's still a shorty, but like he's.
Oh yeah, me too.
16, 17. And then John is 21 or 22.
Oh shit!
So like, so he came back from being accidentally aged up and that whole thing, and then like, he kind of froze again while Damien has kept getting older. So it's weird, but like, you know how DC time works. It's relative. So it's been a nice story of him like learning to get along with people better and like have friends. They all do a big team up. Lord Deathman is in this book. And it's fucking awesome. He has
Lord Deathman.
He has an apprentice who's basically Damien's girlfriend. It's very
it's
very weird.
Girlfriend.
There's a lot of stuff going on in this one. It definitely feels like it's the conclusion of the first arc, but it does push this into the third Robin trade, and then like the Batman versus Robin stuff, and then the Shadow War stuff with Deathstroke. Like it wraps up
Spencer.
It wraps up the first arc, but this isn't like a conclusion to the whole line or all the other crap that Damien's going through. I like the art like across the board. I like how slightly manga-esque it is. It's got a little bit of
it's gotta be. It's got Lord Deathman.
There's a lot of like East Asian characters in this book. So they're in the middle of, some island in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Like, it's one of the nicer things in the good books the past few years is how clearly they've developed the Raish and his extended family as like actually being like not white. Like the fact that they took so long to kind of, because they never really committed to that, because Raish has always been like really ambiguous. It's like he's got 5 different accents.
I am Adam because I have all races from my penis.
Right, like he's always been kind of loosey goosey. Obviously mostly supposed to be like Eastern Asian, but like they didn't really commit to it. But pretty recently it's been a stronger effort on DC's part, I think, on the editorial level.
And it got more difficult because Ra's al Ghul was played by a white dude in Batman Begins.
Yes.
I swear that is definitely what made it backfire.
Well, part of it. But like that's where
a lot of Ra's al Ghul problems came from.
Some, yes. That's also why we have multiple different factions of ninjas. But like the fact that it's taken such a forefront of like acknowledging all the different ethnicities that go into that family, because there's been so many of them over such a long period of time.
Yeah.
And like, guys, Damien's brown. Make sure you color him brown. Like it adds a nice texture to the story. He's like, because Talia's not. Talia's mostly speculated to be. It's like half East Asian.
She reminds me of a Latina.
She's like, I believe it's half like East Asian and then like half white. I think, I don't remember. She's right. So like it's not like Damien's like super dark, but like Damien.
I have a problem with him being like super like. This sounds weird. You might have to cut it out. So I have a problem with him being super dark for for the sake of just being dark rather than
Well, it
actually
is-
following like his heritage.
Right,
line.
that's when it gets kind of weird. It's because it's like, but guys, Raish is still pretty white looking most of the time. So it's
Yeah.
So if it's when you pay attention to all of them, like if you
Like
just
he's definitely got way more melanin than his dad.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, he's got way more melanin than both of us.
oh yeah,
But like,
it's just it's nice to see
he's
the
still a
amount
little
of
white boy at heart.
oh sure.
How he acts, he's a white boy. He's
It's-
crazy.
It's nice how much attention to detail they have put into this, despite being some extremely convoluted plot lines. The just looking at Raish's mom or Raish's grandmother, who's young and hot now. It's a whole thing.
Damn.
Yeah, like just
Give me some of that gilf.
just it's nice to see how much they're willing to develop the family unit for this. Also,
Develop a family.
stop. Damien and Talia and Raish all do a team up at the end. It's a nice little family bonding moment. Yeah, Talia's still obviously evil, but like she's having a good mom week, you know?
Well,
She's
of
like,
course
all right,
she's still-
fine, you can go back to your father.
Of course she's still evil. She's hot.
And a rapist, but like
I forgot about that. I always forget that
that's
how
one of those
happened.
things where it's like after you're like, okay,
I don't know if I'm interested in you anymore because you raped Batman.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like
I mean, it's not
you
hard to get into Batman's pants, but you had to rape him?
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, even when they wrote this, like it was pretty evident what it was when they were writing the story. But it's like since then, you can tell every writer at DC that has to go near it is like, we know it happened. We're not going to say it didn't happen like that, but we are definitely going to try to like de-yikesify that as much as possible because it's so weird to reference time after time again when like Damien's always talking
yes,
about
my
his
mother, the woman who raped my father and
Yeah,
gave birth
exactly.
to me.
It's like
Through
every
a pod.
Yeah, it's always and every
Yeah.
time they do a little bit of a reboot, they kind of tweak that or just a little bit, not enough so you notice, but like it's enough where like eventually they're just gonna 100% be like, yeah, I know that was a consensual baby, like just don't worry about it, because like it's such a weird like blight on the history to address. It's like, oh, that's because originally
my problem with this, like, why did it have to be rape? Why can't you just say that
Well,
like
it's because-
Batman messed up once?
well, it's because the original story was non-canonical, and then
I know.
they canonized
I
it.
know.
That was the big. It was because Grant Morrison did an oopsie, unironically. But like whatever. Anyways, I like what they did with this book. It was $20. I thought it was about worth it. I bought it at Jetpack. I really like also what they've been doing with Connor Hawk from Ollie's son. I'm not very well versed in this character from previous continuities. Apparently, a lot of the people who have always liked Connor from like pre
Sorry, I like zoned
Connor
out.
Hawk. It's
Connor Hawk.
Oliver has a son. He's had a son for a very long time.
Named Connor Hawk.
Yeah, don't ask. It's a whole thing.
I don't want to ask. I didn't know that. So
yes.
going on.
Yeah, no, Green Arrow's had a son since like the 80s.
Whoa!
But because the character is always, it's one of those characters that kind of always get taught, like Speedy's age is kind of always relative. And like, yeah, the Arrow family, it has the same issue that the Bat family does, where some members get older and some of them don't. Like Oliver is still clearly not like 50 yet, but like he has a grandson, you know, like they play fast and loose with time.
Right.
But apparently the people who liked Hawk before like New 52 time, like the original continuity, a lot of those people don't really like what they're doing with him now because it seems like backwards development. I don't know, so I can't really comment on it. But I do like the character's dynamic with Damien because he's like mega ultra bad Damien, kind of.
Really?
Like he's lived on the stinking ninja island to train to be the avatar of a demon, basically, for like his whole life. Like he's a psycho. But also he's really fun to hang out with. It's a weird dynamic.
So it's like How I Met You.
Yeah, sure, something like that. Not at all, but okay.
Yeah, you're the little demon.
Yeah, we met
avatar.
on a murder island.
I wouldn't put it past it. I don't think anyone would put it past us.
I like the dynamic. I understand why people are getting confused because Hawk he's like 22, but he looks like he's Damien's age. It's kind of weird. Again, DC and time is always relative. But I like his suit. I like his dynamic with Damien. I quite like this book. Do you have anything else?
I'm gonna talk about Chainsaw Man again because
Oh my
I
God.
kind of just like went into like random details.
Yeah, you just
So-
derailed that.
No, it's fine because I think it should have been talked about. So talking about like Chainsaw Man for what it is an anime that follows the main character Denji, who when we meet him, he is stuck in a like debt to this mobster where this debt was his father's, Denji's father's debt. He has to pay off his father's debt after he died, and this mobster's making him do that. And to do that, Denji is living off of like a slice of bread every day and killing devils, which basically are like I'm gonna backtrack. Devils, what they are the personification of fears. So say that there is a fear of hammers. There's going to be a hammer devil, and depending on how many people are afraid of this devil, the devil gets more powerful. And so Denji, after after years of doing this, he really can't like keep up. So he keeps selling like organs of his or stuff like that, and he gets money by killing other devils with the help of a chainsaw devil, which is this like little dog looking thing where he's got a chainsaw on his face and his tail's a ripcord, and he uses him as a little chainsaw. His name's Puchita.
It's so silly.
He is so cute, and I love him, and they're best friends. And they live off of one slice of bread. And they live in a shack. And after one day, he's like told by the mobster that he has to go kill this devil. And he's tricked into this warehouse because all of the mobsters that are like a part of this like little area, because there's tons of different mobsters that are connected, and they're all the same mobsters, but like just one little area for these little guys. And they all got taken over by the zombie devil. Denji fails, but what Puchita does before he dies is Puchita, I like saying Puchita. He gives Denji his heart and brings him back to life, and now he's like this type of fiend, but not really, because there's like these different things. So a fiend is like a devil that took over a human's body because they weren't strong enough themselves. And there's different ways of how they're weakened, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. But what Puchita does is he gives himself to Denji. Denji controls him, and he has his heart. But now he has a ripcord on his chest. Whenever he uses that, his whole face becomes like this chainsaw, giant-ass chainsaw coming out of his face, and he's got chainsaw on his arms. There's a lot of other abilities that he doesn't know about yet, which it actually takes a long time for him to figure it out, but he uses that. And he can like get a limb cut off or whatever, but he can replenish it with blood. Same with fiends and same with devils. And eventually he gets found by Miss Makima, who is like one of the bigwigs of the Devil Hunters community, and they're like a whole organization of security for Japan and stuff like that. And she gets a hold of him and realizes, oh, he could actually be an asset. Or maybe she knows something that no one else does about the Chainsaw Devil. And so he is basically, what's the word that you use? Drafted. He basically got drafted into the Devil Hunters organization, along with a fiend and another guy, because their main thing, other than just protecting Japan and killing devils wherever they see them, is to find the gun devil, the strongest devil ever, because everyone's afraid of guns. And that is the main plot of this whole story. And maybe each week I'll take one topic to like a topic spot to talk about a little bit more. I'll just have to actually like figure out how to divide the story.
Collin learns how to do math. Tune in.
It's difficult.
Apparently.
And now I'll be taking Spencer's spot because he's taking too long.
No,
today we're going to be talking about a story that's about my butthole.
Eat my ass.
The other day I ate Taco Bell.
Collin,
this
is why we have to do all of this remotely, so I can just mute your mic. So I read DC Comics Generations. It's a 2-issue, one-shot collected book thing. So there were 2 things that were released in the midst of the Dark Knight's Death Metal event. There was Generations Shattered and Generations Forged, it's simultaneously kind of a fallout of that event, but also a leftover of the original 5G plan, which I've mentioned numerous times over the past couple of years. The details are still very vague. It was DC's original next publishing initiative that was supposed to be a very big thing. Basically, time was going to pass linearly, and they were going to make all stories fit into a linear, straightforward time path. They didn't do that exactly because the Dan DiDio left and whatever. So there are still a few books that are kind of leftovers of that. They have details that don't totally add up to where we are now. And this story is basically a bunch of characters from different periods in DC's history team up to fight a guy and to get the time stream sorted out. It's fine. Basically, we get 40s Batman, which is fun. We get Kamandi, the last boy on Earth, who's from a distant future.
Oh shit! I love that guy in Batman Brave and the Bold. He was so cool.
As well as 2 different versions of Booster Gold. A couple of other characters I don't remember. It was fine. The thing about this, which I've read a few books from this time period of like, we finished the book, but it's not really relevant anymore because we changed our publishing initiative so much. And this was a fun romp, but it's basically just that. Because all of the effects that this event was going to have were kind of nullified to an extent, or they were at least dumbed down, like a lot. This is basically just them. They all get collected. They spend the first issue getting tossed around through different time periods. Oh, and Steel's there. That's the character I enjoyed the most. Steel and Steel's daughter, who in a future is also a Steel. It's a whole thing. It's written primarily by Dan Jurgens with art by various art teams for mostly the different time periods. And I like the idea of that, but when it's just 2 one-shots that are stitched together, the art style changing basically every 3 pages is a lot to take in. It feels too high effort for what it is, honestly. Dan Jurgens is like an all-time great writer, but this book was just kind of a dud. Like, it's fine. The dialogue is fine. It's cool having weird characters interact with each other and like trying to explain to 1940s Batman about what the fuck the multiverse is. Like, that's entertaining, but also meh. Oh, Superboy is there. So Clark Kent, when he accidentally got sent to like the 31st century or whatever, it's just fine. A lot of the art is good. It's just not very interesting, honestly. The villain is, I don't even remember his name. He's just a guy who if I remembered my DC cosmology a little better, I would know who it is. But like, he wants to force the timeline to fit into his own special world where he can live with his dead family in a 1950s house bubble. And it's like, damn, bro, this writer watched WandaVision. It's got that vibe to it. Where it's like, it's like that story's original to that. It's just that really made this type of story get popular again.
It's like copies of copies of copies.
Of course. And
it's
that's
like, it gets so disgusting.
It's more so when it's so recent to the thing you're kind of clearly like ripping on is why it feels weird. Like, WandaVision had a story of like 18 different comics shoved together. Like, it's nothing's original, duh. But it just felt, this was like basically that. It was just kind of lame. It ends and it's like, wow, look, everyone goes back to their time periods because you guys can, you're going to be inspiring other heroes. And it's like, it just doesn't really go anywhere, honestly. The action's fine. The character interactions are cool. Like, Steel, who's an adult, inspired by Superman to build his own armor and like be a Superman, talking to Superboy before Superman becomes Superman and has like no powers basically. And he's like, yeah, we're going to get you back to your timeline because like you need to get back because you're going to inspire like a bajillion people, It's Superman. Like, there's some interesting stuff. It's just not really, it doesn't take advantage of the different time settings very much because it's so, the first half is them all getting collected together and then immediately being shot out into different time periods. And then like the follow-up is them coming back together, finding the bad guy's henchmen and being like, guys, you should work with us. And then they punch him. Like, it just, I'm gonna, for the fact that I'm remembering this right now is impressive. It's not bad. It's just so bleh. I paid $18 for the trade. I was waiting for the trade because it came out in hardcover around when a lot of the other death metal trades were coming out. But I wanted to wait. It's on my shelf. Maybe I'll flip through it for the art. Like, it's a cool concept of having these very weird characters be shoved together, but I didn't feel as much rhyme or reason to it as I would have felt necessary. Like, you have Superboy and 1940s Batman, and like kind of everyone else is a little all over the place. It feels like there are some threads I could see being kind of pulled together, but it just doesn't go all in on it, you know?
Yeah. You want to know a hot take before we end the podcast?
You're a hot take machine. What do you want?
So about Superman,
Oh God.
I think you have a major character flaw or a major morality flaw if you do not like Superman.
I
at
agree
all.
to some
Like,
extent.
I genuinely think that. Like,
I wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't go quite so far as to call it a moral failing. I think it's a sort of, it fits in
I
with
feel like there's
how
something not clicking.
I wouldn't even say necessarily not clicking. I think it's because it's an attitude that people have, and it's like, it's not anti-art exactly, but it's like, there's a difference between being cynical and being jaded and grouchy and like even going through bad periods. No shit. But like, just blanket statement claiming a character like as a whole is like just too like, I'm sorry, but you're not engaging with the art. Like, you cannot like Superman stories. There's a lot of Superman stories I don't like.
Well, duh.
A lot of them.
I'm saying Superman.
But like,
character,
yeah, like,
like,
it doesn't mean he has
for
to
what
be
he
your
stands for,
favorite.
you know
But
what I
right,
mean?
but it's like,
No, he's not my favorite.
no,
But like, so Batman,
yeah,
obviously my favorite. Always has been.
it's cheating
But
though.
cheating.
Batman being your favorite's kind of cheating. He has twice as much publication history as everyone else because they keep making Batman books.
It's not cheating. He's still my favorite superhero. He always has been. I didn't fucking read comics till like 2 years ago. Okay? I didn't know. I just always liked Batman. I always felt like I could connect to Batman in some way. And he will always still be my favorite, but there's something about Superman where I'm like, I'm still inspired by Superman in more ways, and another way I feel related to I feel somewhat like connected to Batman is how much like he also likes Superman. Like, Superman's like his favorite superhero.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where
And that makes me think, wow, even like the most like depressed or cynical guy, who's technically like the most optimistic guy, it is like, yeah, Superman's like the greatest in the world.
It's a matter of, it's just people just don't engage with like the medium, whether it be the movies or the animated stuff or the books. Like, just going on the whole, well, he's boring because OP argument is like, one, you're kind like your priorities in a story are kind
This
of
type
off
of person
kilter.
could not watch One Punch Man.
Yeah, like, and that's exactly like that's the thing is okay, to be fair, I don't like the One Punch Man anime or the manga. The webcomic is great.
Really?
Yes, the fucking mangaka ruins his own shit in the fucking manga. He makes it worse, and then the show after the first season is just trash. The webcomic is still
We
good.
don't have to get into that.
But
anyway.
like, that's the point about the story is it's not like, it's like, yeah, he'll defeat anyone in one hit. So what's the actual story about? When you remove the thought of like the specifics of the power set and you actually focus on the story,
Yep.
like Up in the Sky, the Superman book by Tom King I read, I wasn't quite as hot on as I wanted to be. It's still definitely one of the best ones I've read recently.
Right.
It was like, it's a series of anthologies that kind of all connected to one plot line, but it's like they're all goofy, over the top examples of how like Superman doesn't make sense, and like that's the point.
Well,
It's like he's not faster than the Flash.
No.
He's going to win though. Like,
Superman's gonna win?
yes, he's gonna win a race because he needs to. Like, there's something about acknowledging the flexibility of art. Like,
I don't think... I'm sorry, I'm not gonna go into that argument. I have that argument with a lot of people. I'm like, no, Flash, literally...
well,
there's
most
no
of the
point.
time,
There's no fucking point to Flash if
It's
Superman
not-
can fucking beat him in a race.
it's not because he normally can beat him. It's because of this one specific instance that they're in. Whereas basically, I talked about it when I talked about the book ages ago, but like, Lex Luthor will donate a gajillion dollars to a charity if Superman can beat the Flash in a race. But like, they're doing like a charity thing, right? They're like doing a charity run, like whatever.
It's just like the animated.
Yeah, and like, Lex is gonna like, he doesn't make that public. Like, he just tells Superman, he's like, I'm gonna give them like so much money, but you have to win, and you can't tell Flash. So instead of like, while the two of them are going at, like, Superman's, like, dying. Like, he's barely keeping up, but, like, he still finds a way to come in clutch at the end because it's Superman. There is no... The logic isn't the point. Like, that's the end of that book ends with that note. It's like the little girl who gets kidnapped and is off in space in the middle of crazy shenanigans.
I love that.
And it's like, yeah, he's like, why'd you think I was gonna, like, come for you? And she's like, it's because you're Superman. Like, that the point is that it's just pure pure unbridled optimism. That doesn't mean being stupid. It doesn't mean being naive.
No.
Sometimes he can be naive, but, like, it's just this type of attitude that people have, and that doesn't mean all the writers nail it. A lot of writers don't get Superman, and that's fine. But, like, it's such an anti, like... It just kind of is like an anti-art thing where it's like, do you watch this? Do you watch these things or read these things to, like, look at the stats of the characters? Are you that fucking boring? Or do you actually, like, want to engage with the things that the writers are trying to tell you?
Right. So I'm going to cut that off because I totally forgot how deep you can get into Superman stuff. I mean, I can too, but I kind of wanted to, like, make a simple, like, thing. Here's another hot take about Superman.
Oh, God.
That I heard that made me actually stop being friends with someone. Because I do this.
I think I remember this.
And
Go on.
No, you don't. Because I do this because it can actually tell me their intelligence or their emotional level, and, like, I'm right every time about this. This friend said, Superman's so dumb. Like, why? It's like, you got such a stupid name. Like, what do you mean? Superman? I'm like, it literally, I was like, Batman? Right back at him. He's like, that makes sense. I'm like, I'm done talking to you. I was like 16 or something. I'm like, I'm done talking to you. And I went away. Superman? Who cares about the fucking name? It's Superman. Are you kidding me?
It's more of a thing with that for me. I get what you're saying. It's more of a having no context for anything, and it's like that type of thinking is so, like, present brained, where it's like, not everyone needs to be, like, a comic historian here, obviously, but, like, you do realize these characters were created not that long ago, and when they, like, the medium has changed so violently.
That Superman came out in, like,
the
40s?
Yeah, like...
39?
Yeah, like, the medium has changed radically so many different times in such a short time period, like, the way that we're... It's like... It's like... It's the equivalent of, like, walking up to, like, I don't know, going over to Einstein and being like, bro, why don't you have an electric car? It's like, are you fucking stupid?
For real, like, what, dude, why don't you have a Tesla? I said, well, where's your Tesla?
Well, I mean, Teslas are garbage, but, like, aside from that...
Well,
like,
no, shit.
It's like...
It is so stupid, because also, like, superhero names, why do they have to be so abstract or crazy? Like, just simple. Why can't it just be Superman? Giant ass on his chest. He's so fucking strong as shit. Cape. What else do you need, okay?
Well, it's the first one. And it's like, that's what... It's like,
it makes sense the first superhero ever would be Superman.
Yeah.
That makes so much fucking sense.
And it should...
That it feels like someone from the future came back in time and changed our time period.
And if you... It speaks to the enduringness of the character. If it's like, yeah, and it was that simple and over the top and weird. And it's still here. And it's still, like, that influential.
Because it's that good.
Right. It's just... It's such like a... I don't know. There's certain things like that where it is, like, just this big red flag. It's like, I'm never talking to you about art again.
Yes.
I'm not gonna be a snob about it, but, like, holy fucking shit, some people just no brain at all.
So that
speaking of people who have brains.
Speaking of people who have no brains, Jeff Lawrence, I'm talking to you. Love you.
Oh God. So a big thank you to our partners over at Jetpack Comics and Games, downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. They supply us with all of our addictive needs, whether it be collected editions, ongoing books, D&D stuff, Magic, Pokemon, all sorts of crazy stuff.
I get Pokemon cards from them.
Go check them out. Let them know that we sent you. Also, a big thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/dimecomicbros network, Caitlin and Jeff Lawrence. If you would like to help support this show, monetarily speaking, and help keep the lights on, you can go up to said Patreon and throw some money our way. It'd be greatly appreciated. If not, we totally get that. We have different tiers with different rewards.
It's okay.
Like
we'll
how
just sit
Patreon
here
works.
in, like, the frozen cold tundra of the moon.
Yeah,
with no
sure.
light. Because that's where we're from.
All of our different tiers come with different rewards, including getting your name dropped at the end of all of our episodes, exclusive access to a lot of content on our Patreon, other podcasts, segments, clips, etc., as well as early access to all of our primary podcasts for this show, as well as our other podcast, Dime Gaming Bros, which is what Jacob and I do on the side once a month. Also, stickers, sketches, all sorts of crazy stuff over there on the Patreon. Go check it out. Feel free to check out our website at dimecomicbros.com. We now have a backlog of all of our sources for all the news we've ever covered. Took me a long time.
Wow,
Yeah.
you did that.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of cool.
Dude, it was all copy paste.
That's actually badass.
It's
though.
so much copy paste work to get the formatting right, but like once I got a pattern going, it was pretty easy. I just had to add stuff onto the website so I could actually have like.
No, but that's still badass that you still like provide all this. That's.
I mean,
cool.
I have to collect
Provide
it for
all the
us
source.
anyway. So
Well,
it's like,
yeah,
why
but
don't I
it's
want to
still
put that
cool.
on the website?
It's still cool.
So moving forward, I have put out a couple of posts about this on social medias and stuff. But moving forward, our YouTube community tab will be a bit more active. So check that out for all sorts of stuff over there, as well as on the website we have just a big old backlog of all of our news sources. So I don't know, fact check me or whatever. So every time an episode drops where we go over the news, there'll be a corresponding post a couple of days beforehand. One gives you a little bit of a teaser as to what we might be talking about in the upcoming episode, as well as just, I don't know, like journalistic integrity and stuff. Next week, it's a news week. It's going to be a fatty because it's been like 2 months. It's a lot of stuff. And there's been a lot of fun stuff too. So hopefully all three of us will be here. I wouldn't bet on us being in the Dime Comic Bros studio yet, but all three of us are definitely going to be here. And I think it's just news and assorted talking points, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'll talk about Chainsaw Man.
It's going to be a banger of a week. So feel free to check that out. Thanks for listening. Go away now. Get out of my room. Get out of my walls.
So if I see Batman fighting a dinosaur, I'll just.
You're shaking the room.
Am I?
Yes. What? Look at the microphone.
I'm waiting.
Look.
Shut up. Shut up. Doesn't really do anything.
Look at the microphone when
I
you
know
do
it's
that.
shaking, but it's not doing anything.
Don't. I will hold you down with my toes. I will
saying-
hold you down with my toes.